Black, y'all. Get on up. Black, y'all. Black, y'all. Fast up. Hey. Get it wrong. Black, y'all.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Cap or No Cap. I am your host, Kevin C. Meggett. I have a very, very special guest. He's a private investigator, very talented man, military, retired law enforcement, and he's actually writing legislation that has people shaking in their boots. Please give a warm, warm welcome and hand for our brother, Manuel Gomez. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you have a documentary on Hulu, huh?
Yeah, it's Crime and Punishment. Actually, we won the Emmy for it in 2019.
Oh. Okay. Keep that applause going.
Thank you. Yeah, you can see it on Hulu, or
Okay.
you can watch it for free now on YouTube.
Okay.
So you put in Crime plus Punishment, you'll be able to see. And it's about the illegal ticket quoters, and also about freeing a young man who was falsely arrested 9 times by a police officer who tells Black and Spanish mothers, if you spread your legs to me, I won't arrest your children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of police corruption, and I've heard of police corruption even way back when, in the 70s, early 70s, and but I didn't know the corruption was still that prevalent.
Oh no, the corruption now from the 70s, they would beat you in the street and everything, and they would, take bribes and so forth.
Right.
It still goes on, but it's more sophisticated now. Now it's more organized, the corruption. It's more gone underground. So the blue wall of silence is even more prevalent now than it was back then. And this is what the film Crime and Punishment shows.
Wow.
It's a very powerful documentary.
So how did you get into this line of work?
Well, I was a cop for 15 years, and my career ended the first 15 minutes I started.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. The first 15 minutes, the first day I graduated the academy, I was assigned to the 43rd Police Precinct. When I went to the 43rd Precinct, I was in the roll call room, and they had about 45 brand new cops. And I'm standing there with my leather shining and everything, feeling good, looking good, think, damn, I'm gonna make a difference in the community. And this sergeant walks over and says, 8 of you get in my van. Takes us in front of a Yankee pizzeria in the South Bronx, over on Stratford Avenue. And there's 3 black males holding a pizza there, and 2 Spanish males holding a soda and a calzone. He pulls the van up in front and says, everybody get out, throw them up against the wall.
Oh, wow.
So I said, now we're all brand new in the van. So I said, well, why are we throwing them up against the wall? What's the probable cause? We just graduated the academy yesterday. I got to put a note in my memo book saying, why am I stopping you?
Right.
And the sergeant says, well, I gave you an effing order, and if you don't follow that order, all of you are going to get suspended. So I said, sir, why are we stopping these young boys in front of a pizzeria holding pizzas? Are they holding an illegal pizza? What's the reason? He says, I gave you an order. I said, no. What you gave me was an illegal order to violate their civil rights.
Right.
And racially profile them. That I will not do.
Right.
Wow. And that was 15 minutes on the job. So he drove us back to the command, and then they screamed and yelled at us and separated us and put us all in the worst areas to get us hurt, to teach us a lesson. So from that point on, I realized that the job wasn't the job. What they were doing was making it the police department against the public, when the reality is it's supposed to be that the police department protects and serves the public,
right,
not abuses and violates them. So the justice I could not give as a police officer, and that now I provide as a private investigator. So I've freed over 120 people who've been falsely arrested around the United States. Well, thank you.
Now we gotta keep that going.
Thank you.
And the reason why is because there is a disconnect between law enforcement
Yes.
and the general public, who they are supposed to protect and serve. And a lot of that disconnect is, you're telling me now, is systematic.
It is. And that's the problem. You know, right now, people are saying no justice, no peace, doing all these demonstrations, but they don't realize that the biggest form of corruption we have in the United States is not the police departments. Oh, they got corruption.
Right.
And what they're doing is wrong. And they're killing people and shooting people and choking them out and things like that. That's all wrong. But what's even more wrong are the state prosecutors who are facilitating this type of corruption.
They're in cahoots.
And they are in cahoots. And not only that, but you got to look at when that cop falsely arrests you, puts you in jail, but then the prosecutor knows that they got a weak case, that you're innocent and possibly innocent, but keeps you in jail for 4 years, 5 years, waiting for a trial that you don't go to. Now you tell me who's more corrupt. You saw the movie Now You See Us.
Right.
Central Park jogger
Right.
people. What happened in that movie?
Right.
It showed that they were all locked up for 20 years. They were raped, beaten, abused, their lives destroyed for 20 years. At the end of that movie, it showed concrete evidence that the prosecutor falsified the case, that the cop, the detective falsified the case. Nothing happened to them.
Right, to this day.
That's right. You know what
No
happened?
one's held accountable.
No. Society is held accountable because we had to pay $40 million to those 4 guys.
Right.
Now, do they deserve the $40 million? Absolutely. The problem is,
Who's paying it?
who's paying it and why is
I'm paying it. You paying it.
we all paying it? Your property tax is paying it. It's coming out of your state taxes and your city tax. And the problem is that they're not being accountable. There's no liability. They have a thing which many people don't know about. It's called the immunity defense. Now, this is what happens in every state. And you want to hear something? You know why you're seeing this problem throughout the states? The epicenter for corruption is in New York City.
Right.
New York City has the largest police force in the world. Let me say that again. In the world, 37,000 cops. No city in the world, no city in the United States has that many cops. So all the states in the U.S. copying, 38 of them copy New York City police procedures, copy the judicial procedures followed by the New York City prosecutors. So when you copy the procedures, you copy the problem. This is why you see all these problems are similar in the United States.
Wow.
And they're sending chiefs of police from every state, from Oregon, from Kentucky, from Georgia, from Mississippi. Names sound familiar. These are the states where all these things are happening.
Right.
California, these are the states where all these things and riots and people getting killed are happening.
Right.
They come here and they have them train here.
Wow.
And then they bring those techniques back.
So let me ask you a question. I believe it was in 2006. We're talking about police corruption. Let's talk about a little bit about police abuse. And I don't know if you're fully aware of this, but in 2006, I believe, 2 years before Barack Obama took presidency, a federal memorandum came out. And the FBI put out a memorandum saying that hate groups such as the KKK and neo-Nazis have joined law enforcement so that they could kill black people with impunity.
Yes.
And so now, here we are.
I'm aware of that.
And here we are now. And it's a huge problem all over the state, all over the country. And how do we walk that back? In other words, being that the feds put that out, this is the problem, shouldn't they come up? This is what I just believe. I mean, tell me if you agree.
Oh, no,
I
exactly
believe
what you're
that
saying.
all law enforcement right now should fall under federal jurisdiction because you've identified a problem that's now considered a national threat to this country.
Yes. And now, see, you just nailed it right on the head. Now, the only thing I disagree with you is it shouldn't be on the federal jurisdiction. What we need now is an agency, which this is why I wrote legislation,
Right.
because of what you just said, was one of the reasons. I wrote a new policy to address the problem of the KKK being implemented and skinhead organizations being implemented into police departments so they can racially hurt destroy and kill black lives and brown people as well. Not only that, but also due to all the corruption and no transparency within any of the police departments nationwide.
Right.
So I wrote the Department of Civilian Justice, which is a new agency. Well, I wrote it with a guy named Frank Serpico. You can see him in the movie Serpico with Al Pacino. And what this agency will do now is it will allow people to report corruption. It will allow police officers to report corruption within their departments safely. All right? So making it okay to be a whistleblower on what is wrong. And then it will give people the ability to get a fair and impartial investigation, okay? That currently we have no agency that does that. We have no agency that is able to provide subpoena powers to pull up all the evidence, powers to suspend anybody who stops an investigation coming forward, having the ability to fire the police commissioner, the district attorney, the assistant district attorney, or the police officer, or the Department of Corrections. They have no oversight. Every one of these agencies are correcting themselves, checking themselves, monitoring themselves, and judging themselves. How can you have that possible?
Criminals investigating criminals.
That's exactly right. And then
criminals punishing criminals.
and
right?
they sweep it under the rug.
Right.
And this is what this new agency called the Department of Civilian Justice that I drafted, this new bill, so they will provide a mechanism of transparency, a mechanism of justice. In essence, guess what I'm doing?
What do you know?
I'm putting myself out of work. Because now if this agency becomes real, you won't need to hire a private investigator like me to help free your son. You'll be able to go there and get it done for free.
Wow.
Okay? So in essence, I'm putting myself out of work.
So does this agency, you're saying it's not connected to law enforcement whatsoever?
None.
It's totally independent
Yes.
of the, because too many times you have the problem trying to correct the problem, and that's the problem.
That's exactly right. We have, and a perfect example of that is the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board. That was originally designed to investigate the police, which it does. But the problem is when it finds the police guilty of something, it sends their findings to the police department,
Right.
and then the police department's got to hold a hearing. Now, if the police commissioner says, no, he's my homeboy, forget about it, let him go.
That's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Sweeps it under the rug.
Wow.
And this
so then
happens
you
all the
wonder why
time.
you have cases like Eric Garner. You wonder why you have cases like Ramarley Graham, which is I think all of these cases are horrible.
Yep.
But the one that always strikes a chord with me is Ramarley Graham because
I'm going to show you this. You said Molly Graham, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Molly Graham strikes a chord with me, and I'm going to tell you why. Molly Graham, all right, the cops were getting paid, and
Richard Hayes.
and
That's
he
his
was
name.
getting paid for years.
Overtime.
Overtime
At
and
my-
years
at my
your
tax expense, right.
While they allegedly were investigating. Now, this new legislation I wrote will give accountability. Will give accountability and will make them say, okay, you have 30 days, you'll get pay. And after that, you don't get no more pay. We have to conduct an administrative trial saying you're guilty or not guilty within 30 days.
Wow. So the 31st day, you're pretty much like
You're out of luck.
Patty LaBelle and Michael McDonald. You
Yep.
on your own, huh?
That's right.
You ain't getting no money.
You're not getting no money. Now I got a guy here, all right, and I'm trying to pull it up for you. This guy, he is
like that.
the chief of police. Okay, let me say that again. He is the chief of police of New York, Chief McCormick. He was found guilty of putting his hands in the rectums of young black males and Hispanic males in the street.
What?
It's in ProPublica, and I'm trying to pull the article up for you, okay? And this man would go out in the streets, and he would do searches and drop young man's pants down to the floor, and then he would turn around, and I'm going to show you. Here's the article right here, okay? It says, over a dozen black Latino men accused the cop of humiliating them in invasive strip searches, the NYPD. He was found guilty. This is the chief of police, the highest police officer in the NYPD, who is sticking his hands searching young black males in the street, dropping their pants in front of people.
Oh my God, he's a fucking...
And he was found guilty for doing this, and they kept promoting him to the highest rank of chief of police. He is currently on the job now. He is the highest ranking. Now you said to me, how do you keep promoting somebody like that? How do you keep promoting that chief? How? Because the chief of police is his friend. The police commissioner is his best friend. So he kept looking the other way. Again, this is an example of why we have to have accountability. I have the chief of police who was sexually assaulting people, and he is on the job, and he's getting paid almost $180,000
From me, from my taxes.
for doing this to people, and he was found guilty. He was found guilty of doing this.
Amazing.
And it's in the paper, in ProPublica, and you could see, and that's the article. This just came out. Now you tell me, why is this going on? So when we say no justice, no peace,
right,
we need to have legislation. I'm here to create legislative revolution. And you know why I was inspired by that? By Martin Luther King. Why? Because Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and all these guys, they learned the hard way. But when they got enlightened by reading all the books and studying, I went to the library and I read just like them. That's how I wrote these bills. And I went and I said, wait a minute, we have to have this legislation. It can't be saying no justice, no peace.
Right.
It can't just be throwing up, flipping over cars, breaking windows.
Right.
You don't get no result that way. But we will get a result if we have a legislative agency, a new agency, Department of Civilian Justice, that's going to change. I went to North Carolina about when George Floyd got killed. The NAACP, Dr. Terrence Ruth, and the president of the NAACP over there asked me to come there to bring that bill that you have next to you. He asked me to bring that bill to North Carolina because they said they desperately needed help and they had no solution to how to change the problem. And I said, well, we're going to change the problem. We're not going to just defund the police. We're going to defund the state prosecutors. We're going to defund the Department of Corrections. Then we're going to defund the police and take that funding and fund the Department of Civilian Justice. Now, over there in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when I was there, they have a place there called the slave market.
Right.
The slave market, where they sold slaves.
Where my family's from South Carolina. There's a similar market.
All right, and they sold slaves there and they have buildings there. I told them the senator, Senator Blue, I says, I want to take the name off the slave market and I want to call it the Hall of Justice.
Right.
I want to take that building where they sold black people.
You just getting a round of applause.
Thank you. I want to take that building where they sold black people and brown people, and I want to turn it into the Department of Civilian Justice, so that it's a beacon of light for the whole state, so that people can get justice.
Because I think they keep us dumbed down for a reason, because you've obviously took the time out to identify the problem, understand the problem, and even figuring a way to rectify the problem. But whereas the average person, and as a society, I'm talking as a society, at least 85%, and I would say the number, I can argue and say it might be even higher, right? Don't have an inkling of what is going on. We just sitting around angry with no solutions. And so it's refreshing to have you here saying, I have a base to create solutions to the problem. Now here's the thing. I believe the system is designed in a way for a reason, because have you been able to get these this legislation in any states within the United States? Which states?
I got the Department of Civilian Justice now within the state of Connecticut. Senator Dennis Bradley, who was half black and half Dominican, he sponsored it. He got it passed through now 2 committees. We're going to be having a hearing in mid-November of this year. It looks like it might become state law over there. So this will be the first state. So that's bill number 407, the Department of Civilian Justice. I also have another hearing, another bill, which is in New York, Department of Civilian Justice again, is bill number 5947 with Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez. The problem I have with New York is New York is fighting the hardest for it not to happen because they don't want to have oversight because this takes away the power. What that takes away the power from the prosecutor, takes away the power from all the chiefs of police statewide, takes away all the powers away from all the Department of Corrections statewide. And you said to me, Manuel, why did you put the Department of Corrections? Why? Because I had 47 women contact me who were sexually assaulted trying to visit their loved ones who were waiting to go to trial.
I can believe that.
It gets even better. I brought them to an attorney called Alan Figman, and we caused a class action lawsuit. Now, the city just settled for $12 million. Now, most of those women settled, but they settled for $12 million. So anybody out there needs to know this. Right now, there is a class action that's already been settled for $12 million. If you've been touched improperly, if somebody has, made you pull your pants down or rubbed your breasts or anything else, male or female, all right, while you were trying to see your loved ones in Rikers, you can now put in a claim and they'll pay you up to about $5,000 for that invasive search.
No cap.
That's right. And that's going on right now. So everybody needs to put in their claims and needs to know what's going on.
Right.
Because there's $12 million put aside just for that. But I have a problem. They put $12 million aside for that, but they didn't stop the problem. They did not end the corruption.
There's still no accountability.
There's still no accountability. So now, and this is the funny thing, this was 7 officers, correction officers, female, who were violating females. One of my clients, they made her pull a tampon out and put their hands up inside of her. The other black woman had a pack of cigarettes in her back pocket, and they made her strip down naked because of a pack of cigarettes. It was caught on film. It was caught on film. And this is what I'm talking about. We need the Department of Civilian Justice. We need an agency. This is why I wrote that bill. Bill number 5947. People need to support it. Tell your assembly members and senators.
You know what I also think the problem is, or could be? We're out here, we have certain rights.
Yes.
Under the
Constitution.
Under the Constitution of the United States.
Yep.
When I took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States when I joined the Navy.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours. It amazes me that we don't even know the Constitution, number one, but I wonder if we're even under the Constitution, because as far as this is going to be one of my personal pet peeves. We're not operating under the Constitution of the United States anymore. We're still under the Patriot Act. Now, the terrorism 9/11 is way gone. Why are we still under the Patriot Act? I have no idea. And so,
well, you just went down another road.
There's good things about the Patriot Act, and there's bad things about the Patriot Act. The good things is that it gave birth to Big Brother.
Yes.
So everything and everywhere is videotaped. However, we could videotape things 7 days from Sunday. Why aren't things still changing? I mean, people are still killing black and brown people with impunity. Why?
Because there is no financial accountability and there is no agency to bring about a penalty for. That's why I said, that's why we have to have the Department of Civilian Justice. It will bring about a penalty. It will cause people to get fired. It will cause people to go to jail. From the police commissioner down. You got to remember something. This corruption is not starting on the low level. I just showed you the chief of police who is sexually assaulting innovative black men in the street. That's from the top. That's the highest one. He is the number one highest ranking cop.
No one.
No one. And then the police commissioner, who's his boss, is the one that promoted him up to all that. They looked the other way. This is a fact. Look it up, people. McCormick. He's the chief of police right now. Look it up. ProPublica. You'll see the article. Okay? He has violated so many young black and Hispanic males, all right, in the streets. And this is what I've been seeing. And again, that's why I wrote the Accountability Act, which is brand new. Wrote it about 2 weeks ago. I sent it to Senator Dennis Bradley. You know what he did? He texted me 1 day later and said, this is amazing. I'm going to make it a bill.
Nice.
Okay? Then when I brought him to the Department of Civilian Justice, he says, no, we have to have this. Now, why did I pick him? Because that senator was a defense attorney. That senator was black and Hispanic. So he knew. And that senator, to this day, gets stopped driving while being black. And said, there's nothing I can do to stop this. And he said, until Manuel came into my office and gave me Department of Civilian Justice. When Martin Luther King did Brown versus Board of Ed, integrating the schools with black and whites, everybody was supporting that bill.
Right.
He made that demonstrations and marches. They were pushing that bill. They were walking with signs, that bill. What are our signs saying? No justice, no peace.
Right.
But it's
It was
not
actually
saying for
Thurgood
nothing.
Marshall. He did the Brown
Thank
versus
you.
Board
But he
of
supported
Education.
it.
But I mean, I don't know. I think it's about equity, and we don't get the right amount of equity. You know, there's a difference between equality and equity.
Sure.
Equity is just having access to certain things. So we don't. This bill is very important. I think what stands out to me the most is holding police misconduct or prosecution misconduct personally
And financially.
and personally financially liable to a lawsuit. So
Yes.
if I get a $10 million lawsuit, they got to pay a certain amount, a certain percentage of it, and that's brilliant. That to me will start. Wait a minute. This isn't right, because you can't tell me people don't know the difference between right and wrong.
That's right.
Sticking your hand up someone's rectum is wrong, man.
And they do it in the street.
You know what I mean?
And if I'm but to see his
And-
thing.
yeah.
But how do you go after the chief? You can't go after that chief of police.
Right.
He's a 3-star chief. He runs the entire police department. So now you got to report him to the police commissioner. But the police commissioner is the one that put him there and knows he did all this and looked the other way. So then who do you go to? You have nobody to go to. This is why people have to go. Let me show you. People have to go to this bill,
Right.
the Department of Civilian Justice. They got to go here. That's why we have to have something where they can go to
Right.
to report that police commissioner. This makes everybody accountable to the law. If I ask everybody, should anybody be above the law?
No.
Everybody's answer is going to be no.
No.
Then why are all the prosecutors above the law? Why are all the police chiefs above the law? Why do we have no ability to hold them accountable? Why can they turn around and beat blacks and brown people and white people and all colors of people,
Right.
beat them senselessly in the street, and they don't pay for it financially? Who pays for it? You do.
They have the same
taxpayer.
narrative. They have the same narrative. Anytime you have police misconduct, they will go upside their head. And Malcolm X mentioned this years ago, but it's still relevant today. They will go upside their head and say, police, that they were attacked by the, you know, they,
Yeah.
what is it? Police, not brutality, but they would say that they were attacked, and that was the, you know, it's the same charge. Here you are beating a person senseless, can't move, and their defense is, well, I was attacked, and this is the force that I gave, and they get off every single time.
And that's what it is. They get off for civil rights violation because of the immunity defense.
Right.
Let me say
And you
that
gotta
name
list
again.
that, the immunity defense,
It's
right?
called immunity defense. What does that mean? They are immune from paying people for their actions. Let me say that again. They don't pay for what they do to you. We pay.
And if
The
I'm not
city covers
mistaken, the Supreme Court just upheld that.
Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to
Recently.
change. And that's why I'm trying to change it with this
But
federal bill.
I think the Supreme Court is the most racist institution in America, because it's an appointed position, and it's a lifetime position. It's an appointed position, and they get to sit there and rule based on their own personal biases.
And I'm glad you brought that up. You want to know why? Because you just took me back to what you said in the beginning. You talked about people knowing their rights and not knowing them, and then you just talked about the Supreme Court. Let me tell you all one thing. Remember this word, RASPP. RASPP. The one thing that we all take for granted is our First Amendment right. Freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of press. But the last P is to petition the government to write a bill. Every American has the right to write one of these, to change the law. Every American could turn around. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a pissed off American that went to the library and knows his rights. And that's what I did. I grew up in the South Bronx. I used to ride my bike on the Grand Concourse. I graduated from Cardinal Hayes High School.
Oh, wow.
John Jay College, okay? But I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an American who's sick and tired of seeing people come to me and saying, where do I go? Where do I get help? What agency? So now what I've been doing is, besides writing legislation, I've been trying to show people now, how do you report a corrupt prosecutor? Do you know?
No. I mean,
98% of the people
we
don't know.
Right.
That's
I mean,
right.
according to this, is implement. We need to implement this agency as soon as possible.
Now let me get something else. How do you report a corrupt judge?
Wow. And there's tons of them.
Now I have a black judge named Judge Kenneth Holder in Queens, and he's had 26 of his cases overturned for improper rulings and judicial misconduct.
And he's still sitting on the bench?
And he's still sitting on the bench, and he is a black man who doesn't know that Black Lives Matter. And he's been doing this to the majority of those cases were black, 18 of them.
Right.
Now you tell me, why is this corrupt judge still on there? So now I found out there's something they don't want you to know. You can write up a judge. You can go to the Judicial Misconduct Committee and write a letter saying how he broke it down, what he did wrong, and then they investigate it. But you have to know the laws to do this.
Right.
Most of us don't know this. So I'm going to give everybody a gift here. My telephone number is 347-867-6242. Again, I'm going to say it again. Get that pen. 347-867-6242.
And what's your website?
Black Ops Private Investigators. But you're going to call me. You know why I gave you my personal cell? So I can show you how to write that letter against that judge. So I can show you how to write that letter against that prosecutor who is corrupt, because nobody is holding them accountable. I call them the untouchables, and they're the ones why I wrote this bill. They're the reason why the Department of Civilian Justice was born. I had 120 black mothers ask me, how do I get my son justice? And I said to them, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to write you a bill that's going to do that. But see, there's another inspiration that I have it. My son, Jake, he's of color. My son looks black.
Okay.
And he's gotten stopped. And I wanted to tell my son, don't worry about it. Daddy's going to write the law for you.
Right.
I'm going to change the system for you. This is what I'm doing. But I need all of us to unify. We can't be divided.
Right.
This bill, it is beyond...
Oh, we can definitely rally behind the bill. I'd love to bring you on the show again. I mean, we got to pick this up again. This is something that we can't just do in one segment. I absolutely got to bring you on again, and I'll be following you in Connecticut, and I'll definitely come and see you.
Oh, not only you follow me, I want you there speaking with me, brother.
No doubt.
I want you knuckled up. We're coming to a street fight, and we're going to fight in a legislative way. All right?
This is Private Investigator Manuel Gomez. I don't want you to get him confused with there's a cop named
Manny Gomez, a sergeant.
Gomez,
not the same guy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. All right,
Thank you.
Listen, cap or no cap, we love you. Thank you, brother.
Amen. God
Peace.
bless.